Hey Techno Freaks, Techno Odin here, continuing the character breakdowns for Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. This time, it's bedtime. With Noctis. What?
Let's shift into high gear.
An assassin, Noctis is a late game hit and run semi-glass cannon who can strike his enemies anywhere at any time with devastating force. This is in part thanks to his unique ability, the Armature. Similar to Shantoto's Rage form, when Noctis' HP drops below 1500, he will enter his Armature state, conjuring his Royal Arms to aid in extending the damage of his BP attacks, allowing for some extra BP gains. Also, if you get healed past that 1500 threshold, he will still be in Armature form. BP attacks are as followed. His neutral ground, Triple Slice, is a simple 3-input attack where Noctis stylishly slashes 3 times, sending the opponent flying for the wall rush. It's very basic but very fast, and is great as a combo starter or ender when up close. Nothing more to say. His forward ground, Reckless Abandon, is a 2-input attack where Noctis lunges forward with a lance, then poking the opponent away for a wall rush. It's literally Kane's forward ground with the same super hyper armor poise, whatever you want to call it, so use it the same way to get in on those pesky marksmen. His backwards ground, Cumbersome Swing, is a 2-hit attack that has Noct swing a greatsword vertically behind him before slamming it back down, sending the opponent flying for the wall rush. Its range is surprisingly less than Noct's neutral, but what it lacks in distance closing, it makes up for in speed and verticality. Use it more as an anti-air defense tool. Its ground dash attack, Dagger Toss, has Noct do what it says on the tin and hurl his daggers at the opponent. Its range isn't the best, being just inside Zone 2, and its main drawback is that long startup, making this sort of a weak ranged attack for an assassin, which wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't for the fact that this is the only ranged BP attack he has. Anyway, it's a standard footsie tool, use it to get some damage when nothing else is really going on. His neutral air, Aerial Assault, is another 3-hit attack, and is more or less the air version of Triple Slice. But since it's an aerial attack, it's more or less going to be your main close range starter. His forward air, Noble Charge, is both a copy of paste of Kane's forward air and his own forward ground, so use it how you would them. His backwards air, Heavy Hand, is basically Cloud's Braver without the charge. This has Noct slam his greatsword down, creating a little AoE around him. Similar to other dunk moves, damage is calculated by the height you and your opponent were from when they were first hit to the moment they hit the ground. This move is less effective than Braver due to Noct having an assassin poise, which means unless he's dunking on a marksman, one well-timed attack will cancel him out completely. But still, it's one of his best damaging attacks. His aerial dash attack, Bird of Prey, is pretty much the less stylish version of Bartz's unmastered ninja attack. I'm starting to think the only reason Bartz lost his mimic gimmick was because they needed something for Noctis, where Noct rushes in with his daggers, followed by a flurry of slashes before knocking the opponent away for the wall rush. This move, like most dash attacks, is great for intercepting dashing opponents, but be wary of its poise activation frames, cause it ain't a-happening until he starts slashing. Now normally I would talk about HP attacks, but here I think I need to talk more about his unique EX skill, as they somewhat tie together. And that EX skill is Warp, which sits on a sweet and stackable 28-second cooldown, and is based on his Warp mechanic in Final Fantasy XV, allowing him to teleport from one place to another. The move has Noct throw his sword at the opponent, then teleporting to the sword. If he is in close enough range, the sword will deal a small amount of damage. The move is also chargeable, allowing you to extend the range of his warp. Uncharged, the warp will cover up to just inside Zone 2, with the sword dealing damage if the opponent is on the line between Zones 1 and 2 on your radar. At level 1, the range covers the line between Zone 2 and 3, with the damage range up to Zone 2. And finally, at full charge, we go up to a full range coverage of Zone 3, with the damage and range boosted to the line between Zone 2 and 3 of your radar. What's more, it is multi-directional, where you can move the stick to aim where you throw. This is a true Noctis game changer, allowing him to close the distance within seconds. And what's more, Warp acts like a full-fledged teleport, which will allow him to evade attacks, adding somewhat a dodge and punish style of play, which is where his HP attacks tie into, as all of his HP attacks have a warp-based feature. So, for HP attacks we start with Warp Strike, named after the attack mechanic of the very same name and based lightly off the Sword of the Wise Warp Strike animation, where Noctis will throw his engine blade at the opponent and warp to them, dealing BP damage before Noctis slashes them for the HP damage. If the thrown blade hits them before the warp, it will deal an extra bit of damage. The move has okay range, with the attack covering and landing just inside Zone 2, with the projectile damage range being on the line between Zones 1 and 2. Now, one of its biggest boons is it has hyper armor, meaning as soon as he throws the sword, BP attacks can't interrupt it. His second HP attack, Shooting Star, is a search style teleport similar to Kane's level 3 unique EX skill and is loosely based off the Warp Strike for the Trident of the Oracle Royal Arm, where Noctis throws his spear up into the air before warping and crashing down onto the opponent. However, there's no dunk effect, so if you hit someone in the air, they go flying, taking the HP damage, and if there are more than one opponent underneath in Shooting Star's area of effect, they will still get hit but will take no HP loss. Range is good, being the line between Zones 2 and 3 on your radar, but its key boon is its ability to break the opponent's lock-on, making it a beginner's go-to move, though that may not always be too wise. His third HP attack is Steel Pirouette, another move loosely based on one of his Warp Strikes, this time for the Sword of the Tall Royal Arm, and in my opinion is a mix between both his Warp EX skill and his first HP attack, Warp Strike. While slower, it more or less does the same throw sword, teleport to sword for the attack shtick Warp Strike does, and the thrown sword projectile can deal damage, however at a higher value. But the move is chargeable with the range depending on said charge, like with his Warp EX skill, and the ranges aren't too far off either. Uncharged, the move covers up to Zone 2, with the max projectile damage range being the line between Zone 1 and 2, just like Warp Strike. At level 1, the warp covers up to the line between Zones 2 and 3, with the max projectile damage range being within Zone 2. And funny enough, the max charge hardly adds any more distance, so I would round it off to roughly about the same. His fourth HP attack is Plunge, and I'm really grasping at straws, but I think that this is loosely based on Noctis' dodge attack when he wields daggers. This is not to throw his daggers, warp into them to deliver one swift cross slash, dealing HP damage. Range is short, but the move is quick. The warp only covers Zone 1's distance, but the lunge adds a bit more. There is no projectile damage, but you gain the ability to freely choose where you warp, more similar to Onion Knight's dash attack than his actual Warp EX skill. But which one is better? Well, it's all about situations. They are all good at trading thanks to the Warp ability thrown into their attacks. Personally, I go for Plunge or Steel Pirouette, as Plunge is amazing for mind games and quick punishes, while Steel Pirouette does the exact same thing as Warp Strike, but in my opinion better. Its default range is the same as Warp Strike. It's still fast enough to combo off wall rushes, and with its ability to charge is both able to bait dodges and change targets to make the attack harder to read. Shooting Star is great for smaller maps, and the ability to break lock-on can make it a little disorientating for the enemy, which I think makes up for the fact it can't combo off wall rushes. But without that dunk effect, it loses the true crowd control potential. And as we come to it, don't get me wrong, Warp Strike is in no way a bad move, but I can't say it was as effective as the others outside of its armor. It doesn't do anything really better than the others. It's able to combo off wall rushes, which could give it an edge over Shooting Star, but Plunge and Steel Pirouette can combo off wall rushes. So outside of being able to tank a hit, I don't really see the point in using it. For General EX skills, HP Share and HP Regen is a great setup. Your team in trouble, you pop off a HP Share. This activates the Armature passive, meaning you will deal even more damage, pop the HP Regen to top yourself back up to safety, and you're good to go. As for team comp, I will refrain from saying both Firion and Y'shtola, as that's going to end up being my almost meta picks from now on. But since we will be lowering our HP, we'll want someone to take pressure away from us, or to make things annoying for the opposition. So I think teaming up with the Warrior of Light and Kefka isn't a bad idea. I haven't praised Warrior of Light much since his initial video, and with his rework that I still need to fully cover, he's only gotten better. Using Holy Chains to drag people away from you and allow you to start punishing can be a complete game changer, and Kefka's crazy playstyle and frustrating debuffs will make most players break their controllers or keyboards anyway. Overall, Noctis is a pretty cookie cutter hit and run assassin. He won't deal insane damage, not even when in Armature, but he'll add enough, and with a good team link up, he can be devastatingly good. One problem is again our good old friend latency, which since his warp acts like pseudo dodges, bad connection will more than likely get you killed. I still don't understand how this is still a thing a year into the game's release, and with the free version going global, you would think that getting the online play up to a higher standard is more of a priority, but I'm patient and can continue to wait. But without dedicated servers or a completely revamped netcode, I don't know what more can be done on Square's end. My only downside to Noctis himself is how safe they went with him. 3 HP attacks are really just the same exact move with a little bit of different outcomes here and there, and his only true ranged poke attack is on the ground. They don't dive into any of his magic side, which is some good stuff, and to be honest, while I like him, and I may have found my own new addition to my sub-mains, I do think the guy could do a full rework. Design insight aside, let's talk about fighting. Really, you should be utilising Dagger Throw to get some early BP, until you can get a true opening position. Aim Charge warps into Path of Dashes to get better interceptions, and utilise your HP attack warps effectively to trade with foes. And accept that if there's no Golbez, more than likely they for some reason are going to make you a prime target. Don't ask why, I don't know either, it was just annoying. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll prove that you don't need any Royal Guard.
Gotta keep riding this wave.
Okay, that's it for today's breakdown. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell thingy, and share this video. Also, if you have any tips and tricks you found yourself, please share them in the comment section below. And finally, tune in next time where we lend them our voices with Ramza. But until that day, this has been Techno Odin. Take care.